Liverpool have found their new striker in Hugo Ekitike in a deal that could be worth over £70 million. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at what he could bring to this Liverpool side, how he could unlock a new way for Liverpool to score goals, and why he could be worth every penny. If you are unfamiliar with Ekitike, he is a young French striker who has previously applied his trade at Eintracht Frankfurt, and immediately when we start to look at his heat map, something really interesting pops up. Notice how he is almost everywhere. He even drops a little bit deeper. He's able to run into channels as well as get himself into the box. But what's really interesting are the positions that he takes up just in front of the penalty area, and that's because the way that he likes to play is picking up the ball and then progressing it forwards by carrying it. He had 93 progressive carries last season, and to compare him to his potential Liverpool teammates, only Mo Salah and Luis Diaz had more. And speaking of Liverpool, we know that Liverpool don't necessarily do business too poorly. They have reasons for why they go for players, and when you start to look at some of the underlying metrics, it's really easy to see why they saw Ekitike as such a hot prospect. He has the 5th highest non-penalty XG per 90 in Europe's top 5 leagues. That's more than Erling Haaland. It's in line almost with the likes of Robert Lewandowski, Ousmane Dembele and Alexander Sørloth, and it's obviously more than the likes of a Dominic Solanke, who currently applies his trade in the Premier League, and Alexander Isak. He also, in comparison with his potential Liverpool teammates, has a higher non-penalty XG than Mo Salah did last season. Now, that is an extraordinary statistic, but it does need to be taken with an asterisk. Obviously, Ekitike is playing in a different league, and Mo Salah is playing up against arguably more difficult opposition. Nevertheless, it is an incredible statistic that just gives you an indication of the level that Ekitike could reach if he was put into a different situation. He's got a lot of promise. Now, although his statistics might be a little inflated due to the fact that he applied his trade in a different league, we still have a good highlight of him playing against Premier League opposition, and in this particular case, it's against Tottenham Hotspur in the Europa League. And for me, this is a really good example of his attributes and the way that he could contribute towards this Liverpool side. We're talking about him running into channels, finding that space on either side of that centre-back pairing, and then being able to exploit the space that's been left once the team has really absorbed some pressure. And this is exactly what Frankfurt have done right here, and the way that Ekitike has been able to find this pocket of space, isolating the space that Porro has left. Once he picks up the ball, he's then able to drive down that left-hand channel, and he's doing it with pace, he's doing it with flourish, and he's doing it with fleetness of foot, and it's in this that pushes Porro back and allows him to drive a little bit more centrally. It's once he isolates this 1v1 duel that gives him two different opportunities. He can either go down towards his left-hand side or try to cut inside. He decides to cut inside, and it's in this really dynamic play that gives him the time and the space to be able to unleash a devastating shot. Now, not only does this highlight his great individual capability, but it also showcases his willingness to work both channels, and that is going to be incredibly important for the way that he could play within that Liverpool setup. And it's this avenue of play that I think could immediately translate itself into this Liverpool side. The running of channels, the isolating of those spaces. Liverpool scored 14 counter-attacking goals in the Premier League last season. That was the most out of any Premier League side, and it contributed and accounted for 16% of their total goals. And I can see that raising. I can see them scoring more counter-attacking goals with Ekitike in the side, and we're talking about exploring those channels on both the left and right hand side, and the role that that could play for his Liverpool teammates. I'm talking the likes of Mohamed Salah, I'm talking the likes of Florian Wirtz, and speaking of Wirtz, the role that he could play and the link up that he could have with the likes of an Ekitike if Wirtz was to play out on this left hand side, allowing him to move centrally once Ekitike moves out wide. It could be a really interesting dynamic, because I'm not necessarily sure that Wirtz would be the player that would want want to run into space, especially if he's out on that left. So moving him centrally as quickly as possible will not only help his creative assets and help him to start to really thrive in the centre of that park, but it also allows for Liverpool to start to spread the play. And all of a sudden, you've got players moving forwards, you've got them dynamically running, and you've got the support of the fullbacks, which is the second really important thing that I think needs to be noticed. Kirkesh and Frimpong and the roles that both of them could play in this side is extremely important, allowing for Mohamed Salah to then drift centrally, but also the support from the midfielders. Again, like we highlighted in that clip a little bit earlier, the ability for Ekitike to then link up with his teammates or drift into the box is a dual-pronged attack that I think could reap a load of benefits. And then once he's isolated those duels, once he's given the ball away, it's then about finding himself into the box, being supported by his teammates, and then you've got the width from both Liverpool fullbacks here and here. Salah drifting a little bit more in field, still creating that attacking threat, supported by not only Florian Wirtz, but also the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai. You can already see the counter-attacking opportunities that could be given through Ekitike's selfless work rate, but also his dynamic running not only into the box, but also to help with that build-up of play with his Liverpool teammates. It could be a match made in heaven. But just because he's willing to work for the team and be selfless on occasion, don't let that make you think that he can't score goals, because he absolutely can, and he thrives on transitional plays, something that Liverpool seriously enjoyed utilising under Arne Slot last season. And in this particular example, you can see him receiving the pass from his teammate right here, and he's about to run into space. It's through this that he's able to isolate a load of space in beyond because of the aggressive high line of this defence that he's playing against. And look at the amount of space that he's then able to drive into. He's quick, he's pacey, especially for a player of his size. Tall, strong, ability to hold the ball up, but also rapid when he needs to be. And it's in this that he drives forwards. His ability on the ball to not only set himself, but also find himself in a 1v1 situation with the goalkeeper, keep his calm head, and then just nip it over the goalkeeper for a pretty fantastic goal. He can score goals, he can assist goals, and he's selfless for the team when he needs to be. Put all of that together along with his potential to grow into a better player, and Liverpool have got a pretty good deal. But possibly one of the most exciting things that Ekitike offers is his ability to be a focal point within this Liverpool side, offering a real physical presence in the box. Now, although he's only scored 2 goals in the Bundesliga last season from headers, he offers a good aerial presence within the side and an aerial dual win rate of 46%. That is higher than any other forward in Liverpool's front line. And when you think about the quality that they have from these wide areas, but also drifting in field, it's almost criminal that Liverpool aren't able to utilise those creative deliveries. And then when you think about the options that they have out wide and the way that that dynamic could really work, you start to get a good sense of the way that Liverpool could progress forwards, utilising their fullbacks in a really prominent way, in tandem with the way that Ekitike could then manoeuvre himself in the box. And utilising the power and pace of both Kirkesh and Frimpong in tandem with Wirtz and Salah drifting in field, you start to get a number of different opportunities, but more importantly, an option for some really good balance within the side. You have Wirtz drifting in field into this pocket, you have Salah doing the same, and then Frimpong and Kirkesh operating really high and wide out on those far sides. And all of a sudden you have different avenues of approach, different avenues of attack. You have Ekitike being able to hold on to the ball when it comes into him, but also giving the option for those crosses into the box. And being from left foot and right foot, it gives a good dynamic of flexibility. Salah with his left, Wirtz with his right, just inside those pockets. Frimpong with his right, Kirkesh with his left. That's good balance within the side, and it gives Liverpool a whole different avenue. It unlocks a completely new set of tactics, a new set of approaches that they could have when it comes to balancing out this side. Not only do they have great interplay, not only do they have great movement and 1v1 capabilities, but now it unlocks something a little bit more for them. The ability for their aerial presence and that physicality within the box. Not to mention the knockdowns that he could create for the likes of Szoboszlai, or the creative players in and around him like Wirtz or Salah, it's a completely new avenue that Liverpool could look towards that could make them even more dangerous. It's super exciting. And it's combining all of this, looking at the way that Liverpool could go forwards along with his skill set, his profile and his ability on and off the ball that makes this a pretty brilliant transfer. But of course, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. What do you make of Ekitike? What do you make of Liverpool going into the next season? And how do you think he could impact the Reds? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.